What are you 100% certain is true, despite having no evidence to confirm or disprove your belief? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. That my dad might be alive. He supposedly died in 2009. He was a huge paranoid conspiracy theorist to the point where he would bury his money, planted bushes to hide behind in case the government had a shoot-off with him, and at one point thought we all had been replaced by clones. The only people who saw his body are one of my aunts and my grandma who had Alzheimer's. They told us he was cremated, and at the funeral there was no coffin, no urn. All there was a black and white photo from when he was 10. He was born in the 50s. I've yet to see his urn or death certificate, and it's been 12 years. He'd had connections to people who could have easily helped him fake his death. He also had the money to do this. People have also supposedly seen him in Indiana. They took a picture, and to be honest, the guy looks just like him, only a bit older. Same hunchback, same tattoo on his leg, and he even walked with the same little limp. Lately, Disney has been trying to revive the old Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse through merchandise and new cartoons drawn in the old fashion that nobody really asked for. I think they're doing all of that deliberately so that they can try to fight the scheduled copyright expirations on their old cartoons. Our dog knew my wife was pregnant before she did. Normally, she was a sweet and lazy, lovable dumbass who would hang out with whoever wasn't moving, the dog, not the wife. Then, one day, she decided she wasn't going to leave my wife's side. She wasn't aggressive, but she wasn't going anywhere either. Followed her everywhere for a few weeks, then spousal unit started getting sick, and went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Let's check the obvious." And now I have an 8-year-old daughter, and that dog is her constant companion. BuzzFeed employees make Ask Reddit posts to help them write articles. I'm convinced that theme parks, fairs, carnivals pay people to walk around with giant prizes to make the games look more winnable and convince more people to play. Smart. The big Hot Pockets from a convenience store have different fillings than the small ones from the grocery store. I swear, they taste different. I'm being pushed aside for leadership roles at my company because I'm a good, reliable worker and they have a shortage of those. That the leader of Scientology killed his wife and burned the body and bribed the police to get away with it. My coworker lies about her medical conditions. She lies that she has seizures, and while I can't prove it, I know it's a lie because she'll drive the same day that she claims to have had a seizure. Anytime you mention any medical condition, she has it, and it's worse than your case. She's mentioned having toxic shock syndrome, colitis, and a bunch of other things I can't recall at the moment. One day we were talking about autism, and she mentioned that her 22-year-old daughter, who also happens to work with us, was diagnosed as a child. A few days later, the daughter casually mentioned that she had found out just recently that she's autistic. I wanted to tell her that she only just found out because her mom just recently made that shit up. That my sweet, innocent, shy dog is a diabolical mastermind who creates scenarios that get my hyperactive dog into trouble in order to maintain his favorite title among friends and family. I've seen some things. Poor Wendy. Deflategate was intentionally spurred on by the NFL to distract from concussion lawsuits and domestic violence headlines. I am convinced that the electronics items sold at steep discounts on Black Friday are the ones they don't test as well at the factory. Like, when they do quality control tests, the ones that rate 90% or whatever are the ones that are tagged and sent out for Black Friday sales. That incompetence and self-interest is responsible for most of the bad shit that happens in world politics rather than conspiracies. Phone and internet providers start out solid and, over time, purposefully make the product worse to encourage you to upgrade. Companies are offering monthly payment plans in an effort to normalize having a low income and high debt. True. When I was a kid, I watched an episode of VH1's pop-up video. I swear there was a blurb in the segment for Madonna's Take a Bow video that talked about her having sex with a bull while shooting the video. They then went on to make blurbs comparing human semen ejaculation to bull ejaculation. Pop-up video seemed to end shortly after this. I've not been able to find this segment of pop-up video anywhere online to prove myself whether or not what I saw was true. However, I can find record that there was an episode of pop-up video that did include Take a Bow, and there is video of the two other segments included in that episode, but Take a Bow is missing. I think this sunk pop-up video and is the reason they'll never release the series on DVD. That the Polynesians made it into North and South America long before anyone else. I'm talking like 4,000 years ago. Ancient Polynesians were so good at circumnavigation that they knew exactly where they were going roughly 2,000 years before their counterparts. It wasn't until 1759 that Europeans knew how to figure out where they were at sea, latitude-wise. That was when a sextant was invented. There is no physical evidence of them making it to the Americas. However, they have made it equally as far west, so why not east? Also, and I know this is not evidence, but there is a tribe in the Amazon who believes that their people were saved and brought from their original homeland to the jungle and the coast of Peru. They don't describe a god. They describe others, bringing them from super far distances in a ship and then leaving to go back that incredibly far distance. That tribe has had DNA tests done, and they carry a lot of the same DNA as Polynesians, all the way into the center of Brazil. The DNA comes from between Papua New Guinea and the Andaman Islands, from the Bay of Bengal, and even some from New Zealand area. Something in my old elementary school is causing people to get cancer. I lived in a small town, right around 4,000 people. I went to the private Catholic school in the area, which was even smaller. I graduated with 15 in my class, and there were less than 300 students total at the time. Despite this very small amount of people, 6 students and faculty members have been diagnosed with cancer over the past 5 years. The odds are so unbelievably slim that I'm sure something cancer-causing is in the building, but who knows what or where it is. Investigate. Facebook used the outage as an opportunity to delete any emails, memos, or other work product that would be incriminating in the event of a subpoena. Employees were locked out of the building. Wouldn't doubt it. Some modern art is priced so high because rich people utilize it for money laundering. Saw it on a Reddit conspiracy comment and I haven't been able to shake it since. Total truth. I'm 100% positive my sister died of COVID before COVID was supposed to be in my state. We had something really bad going around in the fall of 2019 and the winter of 2020. It sent many people to the hospital with pneumonia or breathing difficulties. Several customers at my place of work were diagnosed with COPD even though they never smoked. Others coughed up blood. My coworker came to work sick as a dog in January 2020, and I sat across from him at lunch along with another coworker. The next week, I got sicker than I have ever been. My sister and her husband also got very ill, even though we hadn't been in contact. I could barely breathe and had to sleep for 3 days, leaning upright on the back of the couch. I was so ill, I almost broke down and went to the ER, even though at the time I was uninsured and never went to the doctor. My coworker that I got it from went to the doctor and they did a test for the flu, but it came back negative. The other coworker that sat beside me at lunch also got sick, and she too came back negative for influenza. A week later, my sister and her husband fell ill and ended up at the doctor's office. They both tested negative for influenza. 2 days after my sister went to the doctor, she got out of bed and fell dead on the floor. That was February 18th, 2020. We assumed she had a heart attack. The cause of death was a heart attack only because of the sudden death and her history of having a heart attack a few decades before. No autopsy was done, and she was cremated. This was about the same time COVID showed up on the West Coast. We live in North Carolina, and no COVID was supposed to be in the state at the time. My coworker that got it the same time I did had a brother who also had it and ended up in the hospital with a very virulent pneumonia, tested negative for influenza, and died the same day my sister did. I swear to this day, my sister and my coworker's brother both died of COVID, but no proof and no way to prove it. Whether they realize it or not, even the most sincere people that do reviews for stuff within a certain hobby interest don't provide their real opinions. If they're too negative about too many products, companies won't send them stuff. If they say stuff too far outside the groupthink of their community, people won't want to watch their channel anymore. As a result, most of them are simply putting their own spin on what the general consensus tends to be. My bond with my bearded dragon goes beyond he's warm. I understand the limitations of his tiny nervous system and that he isn't capable of affection. I just firmly believe that he not only wants heat and food, but that he finds my presence to be pleasant. That boy will come off of his basking log as hot as hell, even need to be, with a belly full of bugs, and still come hauling over just to fall asleep on me. I don't know what it is, but it's more than just him seeking the necessities. Holiday-shaped Snickers taste better than regular Snickers bars. Same for special-shaped Kraft mac and cheese. It's the texture. There is at least one giant creature deep down in the ocean that we don't know about because we have never seen before, like maybe one of those megalodons or pliosaurs. We thought giant squids weren't real until we found one. Oh, and also maybe aliens. I like getting carried away with this stuff, and since there's no real 100% evidence that the answer is no, what's wrong with thinking it might be true? That animals are capable of grief. My dog had a cat. I got the cat from the vet when I went to pick up my dog after a business trip. This very small kitten was in the pen with Angel, and the vet tech told me that they had a hard time keeping the kitten away from Angel the entire time she had been there. I felt like it would be mean to take her dog away, so brought her home. When Fearless was 7, Angel died. I came home one afternoon and all of Angel's toys were in a corner with Fearless guarding them. She had apparently spent time during the day gathering all of them together. She would also walk back and forth between me and the door talking to me. I know she thought I could open the door and let Angel in. After my mother died, I took her dog. I already had 2 other small dogs, and they all got along well, so I ran a pack. I lived just across the alley and one house down from my mother's house. The house had been up for sale, but there were issues, so from November to September, nothing happened. In September, the house finally transferred ownership. The same day I came home from work, and when my mom's dog was so sick, she was vomiting and having bloody diarrhea. I took her to the vet immediately. They were running tests and giving her IVs, but nothing was making a difference. After 10 days, I had to make the decision to have her put down. But I know that the transferring of the house was something she somehow knew. I think until then, she just thought she was visiting and would go home, and when she knew she couldn't go home, she gave up. I don't have evidence. These instances are for sure observational bias, but I really do believe that animals grieve. Sure. That breakfast is still important. Maybe not the most important meal of the day, but it still matters. I love breakfast, and once intermittent fasting came on the scene, everyone went out there demonizing breakfast, and I don't like it. Just let me have my starch and eggs in the morning, you snakes. That my aunt is my sister. My parents dated in high school. My mom said that she felt like her daughter, and people in high school suspected that she was my parents as my mom transferred schools for a year and went back a year later with a baby sister who looked like her, except she had my dad's curly hair. This was in the late 60s, where my mom of all people said it was common for the parents of the mom to raise a high schooler kid as their own. My parents always helped her more than other family. My mom helped her through her divorce. My dad paid her mortgage when she got laid off. Michael Jordan didn't retire to play baseball. He was serving a suspension related to gambling, and he and the league agreed on a mutual cover-up because he was too valuable a marketing asset for the league. They didn't want to tarnish his image. Cool. At least half the US government can't beat a 5th grader in 5th grade trivia. Humans can communicate telepathically. We just don't know how to use it on purpose. Okay? People with lower IQs are happier because they aren't constantly overthinking, looking for self-transcendence, analyzing everything around them, and expecting too much of themselves.